I think we can start, guys. Yeah, I think let's start that. So first, thank you for everyone coming. So actually, right now this is the so like a classroom so small. So sorry for like more people coming. Yeah. Okay. 还需要 more people. There's two. Okay. 别占地方。你们俩出来。Yeah. Okay. So can we start from introduce everyone? Yeah. Start from everyone. Yeah.
Okay. So hi, I'm Eddie. I'm a rising junior in the Academy for the Advancements of Science and Technology, so AAST. At BCA. So let's keep going.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm a rising sophomore at BCA, and I'm in the Academy for Engineering, Design, and Technology, so the Engineering Academy.
Hi, I'm Max. I'm in BCA's Academy for Technology and Computer Science, and I'm a rising junior.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm in the Business Academy, and I'm also a rising junior.
I'm Kyle. I'm in the Medical Academy. I'm a rising junior and BCA.
My name is Jillian. I'm in culinology at BT, and I'm going into software.
Hi, I'm Colin. I'm in the business program at BT. I'm the same grade as Jillian.
So everyone can hear the loud enough? So at the end also? Okay. So today actually we wish you guys to, after this seminar, you guys can have some kind of clear idea about what BCA and what BT program and what kind of effort you guys, the kids, if they're in there, like, what kind of workload, and also how they decide which academy they choose. We kind of like wish you guys to have all this kind of idea after seminar. So to do this, we actually have a bunch of the questions. We did the questionnaire and let everyone to answer those questions. We hope those questions are good questions for you as a parents, like when your kids going to face which kind of choice. So we try hard to come up those questions. So the first question is, like in the BCA and the BT, there's different programs, and we want each of you guys to give us some idea, like what difference are those programs between, inside the BCA and the BT.
You can go ahead and start.
Okay, so at BT we have 9 different programs. And so I'll start off with my program. So I'm in the business program for the strategic asset management program. So this year, in freshman year, we basically learned how to budget, like a lot of life skills really. We learned what moves the markets. We also learned like a lot of macroeconomics. What did you learn in culinary?
So I'm in culinary. We basically learned how to cook and like make desserts and just like basic foods. And then we learned like the items around the kitchen.
Okay, so there's other programs such as like fashion, design, and merchandising. This year, I believe they learned a lot about fashion. They learned a lot about how to sew things. They learned a lot how to like design clothing and different types of really big fashion outlets there are, and what the new trends are this year.
So we have a program, commercial art and graphic design, which basically this year they learned like art history, and then they learned basically like sketching and stuff, and then they also learned like the dates of like time periods of art.
So on computer, yeah.
Well, basic question. What's the difference between BCA and BT? I'm sorry, so naive. What's this two school difference? I even didn't.
They all actually under the Bergen Technical Schools. Bergen County Technical Schools actually right now has about like 4 programs.
Okay.
2 programs is like the BCA. The one program is BCA. The other one is Bergen Tech. It's called BT.
Yeah.
And the other one is actually it's at the premise. There's one premise. It's for the kids who has special needs, like has IEP. So they can apply for that premise campus. And they start to have a 4th one. I think last year is the first year try. They actually the campus in the Bergen County Community College. Yeah, they actually Is that-
Applied tech.
Yeah,
It's
so
about
it's
applied.
actually share the teacher with the BC, what's that?
Bergen Community College.
The Bergen Community
They
College,
all
BCC.
are high school program.
They're
Yeah,
all high
all high
school,
school.
yeah, four programs actually, yeah, Bergen, it's all together called the Bergen County Technical Schools,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so each.
So BT and BCA are in different buildings. BT is on the Teterboro campus, which is in Teterboro, and BCA is in Hackensack.
Okay.
So I believe BT is a lot more vocationally focused, whereas BCA is always like known for like academics, and that.
BT
type
is
of-
what?
BT
Well,
is very specialized,
Okay.
and BCA is a bit more general, I guess.
It's a different school?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's two different campuses.
Yeah,
But-
okay.
They're under the same district, though, like the Bergen County
Yeah.
Technical District.
They're like run by
Okay.
the same people.
But all-
Okay, BCA is general and BT is
I
You
specialized.
still have specialization in BCA, but it's much more pronounced in BT.
Also, there's a
Okay.
little bit of difference between like how you can choose the classes. So I think BT offers a little bit more like AP classes, but BCA also has more IB, like international bachelor like classes that you can choose.
I heard that BCA is more competitive than BT. Is this true?
You guys think that?
I don't know about more competitive.
Probably.
I don't know. I
There-
think there's a lot more academic competition in BCA, whereas BT might have more varied interests.
Applying science,
Yeah.
like the practical.
Yeah.
Like you have to be interested in what program or
Okay.
academy you choose. But all of the academies, they're basically electives, like a 4-year-long elective.
So there's a website to summarize all these programs,
Yes, yes.
also
So-
the special needs kids.
Can you apply
Yeah, that's
both
for the
or-
grants.
Yeah, you can apply to both.
Yeah, so, okay, let's,
Okay.
we have
Sorry.
to have a Q&A
I'm sorry.
after this, yes.
But
okay.
because I want to have an overall picture before
Yeah,
we see,
yeah.
you know.
Okay, sorry, I
others.
thought you, all of you guys come here, I thought you guys already no, there's 2 schools.
Oh, we did.
Okay, don't worry. Okay, so.
Okay,
So we're
so
gonna BCA.
getting back to the different programs at Bergen Tech, there's one called Computer Science, and this year they learned basic Photoshop, HTML, and JavaScript. And they also did a little bit of game coding at the end. So,
And there's a program, automotive engineering and design, which is like they learn about engineering, and then we have like at BT we have like this garage with like cars inside of it, so they learn how to like fix cars and stuff.
yeah. And so digital media this year, they did some video and audio learning. They learned about how to use video and audio and some Photoshop stuff. And also they learned how to really Photoshop like photography that they took in a project that they did at the end of the year. And in law and justice, so this whole year in law and justice, they've been learning the basics of what happens in court and like courtroom. And so at the end of the year, this basically prepared them for their final project, which was they had a debate, freshmen versus sophomores. And so the whole school comes to watch, and it's like a whole day process. Oh, and the last one in aerospace. So in aerospace, they did a lot this year. They learned the equations of lift and drag. They had to learn a lot of physics this year in that one. They also learned the basics of a plane, like the anatomy of a plane, what makes a plane fly. At the end of the year, they went to a park, I believe, right? Then they launched a balloon and like that they designed, and also a plane, and see how far it like went and stuff. Yep, and that's it.
Alright, so now we'll be moving on to the different academies within BCA. I believe we have 7 different vocational academies, and we can start with med.
So in the medical academy, we primarily focus on like if you're planning on going to something related to medicine, so like a doctor, nurse, physician, and I think the question was more of like what's the difference between the academies, and I think the major difference is your core classes, because once you set your targets on a specific academy, you're assigned like core classes every single year. So even though you might change your mind and you might not like medicine anymore, you still have to take your medical classes.
Alright, so I'm in business, and business is more of a humanities focused class in comparison to the other academies, whereas they have like multiple years of a certain science subject. For example, they'll take 2 years of physics or 3 years of biology. We only have to take 1 year of these subjects, and instead we get to focus more on actual business classes and humanities and the IB diploma, which I'll talk about later.
Okay, so in computer science, we learned a lot about computer programming. Last year, my sophomore year, I took AP computer science, which is Java. Just learn how to program pretty much. And next year I'll be taking a computer science class, which is a lot about algorithms and other computer-related things.
Okay, so I'm in the engineering academy, and last year, my freshman year, our classes were Intro to Electronics and Intro to Engineering Design, which basically we learned how to use the CAD software to design different things. The engineering academy's core classes are more similar to the science academies because we take the same science classes, and it's more science heavy, so we have to take 2 years of biology, 3 years of chemistry, and 3 years of physics in our entire high school career.
Yeah, so as Carrie was saying, science is kind of similar to engineering. So we actually share a lot of classes together. So science, you take multiple years of chemistry, bio, and physics. So yeah, we have a background very rooted in the sciences. But then we also have a few specific classes that are not in AEDT. Like we learn a lot about chemical engineering. Like I think they are moving science to be more of like a chemical engineering specialized academy. But other than that, we also have a little bit more about microscopy, chemical engineering, as I said, and also a few other like general science related classes. So science prepares you very well for just like any type of science related career. So it's often said as like the most general academy. And then there's also a few other academies in BCA that we don't have here today. So that is the entire Visual Academy for visual theater and music, and also the Culinary Academy in BCA. So the Visual Academy is kind of like, they focus more on like obviously like performing arts and other types of like visual like inspired.
There's like three sub-academies.
Yeah, there's 3 different sub-academies or 3 different focuses in the Visual Academy. So you have AVPA Music, AVPA Theater, and then also the Visual Academy, just like the actual visual sub-academy. So for music, actually BCA offers 25 different music classes, and 5 of them are specific to the Music Academy. So if you really want to pursue music, then you can go ahead and do that, because you get a pretty wide variety of music courses that you can choose from, and some of them are only specialized for your academy. And then for the Theater Academy, you can take a variety of like theater classes and participate in the plays and everything, and it's kind of like if you really want to go into theater or also directing, you can go into the visual like theater focus academy. And then there's also just general visual, which is like computer graphics. You can play with like there's like a visual lab where you can do like a bunch of there's like VR stuff that you can do, like video editing. Does anyone have anything else to add about visual?
It's basically an art academy where you learn both traditional techniques and newer techniques in art. So you learn the traditional sketching and painting and acrylics and that type of artistic expression, but you'll also learn like digital art and using your computer to create art.
Yeah, and then finally there's also a culinary academy, which is not only culinary, but it's actually culinary and hospitality administration. So if you want to like learn how to cook, or not only that, like learn how to manage a restaurant, you can even do that in the Culinary Academy. And in addition to that, they do training on like hospitality for like in hotels or something. If you want to like administer hospitality, you can do that there.
So basically overall in BCA, everybody has a specific set of core classes. We're all going to take history, English, social studies. But your sciences are going to be different, and for each academy, we have a different set of like core classes for that academy. So for example, they'll have a specific medical class, and for business, we'll have a specific, say, finance class that you add on to your currently existing classes that are the core classes.
And we also want to remind you that regardless of which academy you choose, you can do like a very wide variety of things in each academy. So like, I think some people who graduated science like don't even move on to do any science-related careers. They move on to do something in humanities, and even so, the science curriculum does prepare them well. So, regardless of which academy you go in, you can choose electives to kind of tailor to your interests. So, even if you're not quite sure like that you want to really pursue science, you can maybe choose more business-related electives or something, and you can kind of tailor your education to your own needs.
Yeah, for example, I'm in computer science, but I spend a lot of time in the visual lab. I've done video editing and developing for VR. And I've also actually done some music electives. I was in concert band.
So does that happen same thing at the BT, right? Even you do the
Core classes?
yeah, do like so. One question is for the BT and BCA, are they do the similar core class like the other high school?
Yeah, like the state requires some classes to be learned from us students. We need to take math, social sciences, right? And also a science class. For math, I believe it's 3 years. And it also an English class. I'm not sure for the rest, but we have to take those classes. So we can't just just take all business classes.
So when you guys graduate from your program or your academy, you guys can choose to go to the totally different area when you go
Of
to
course,
the college,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because we also have like different electives, like I'm in culinary, but like I could take business electives later when like time allows.
So you can take courses from different,
Yeah.
specialized.
Yes,
major.
yes.
Oh, you can switch.
I mean,
Well, we
you
can't
cannot
really switch
Yes,
majors.
They can take courses.
Yeah.
Yes, we can take some courses.
Some
Yeah.
courses.
Yeah, so that you can't take like their academy specific courses, but you can take electives that are offered in that
Right.
region.
How many electives you can have, every year or the total 4 years, something like that?
Yeah.
For BCA, you have the end of the day, there's like an elective hour. So the way electives work in BCA, most of them are like Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday. So you have each of them 2 times a week. So you take 2 electives per trimester, and some of them are multiple trimesters, some of them are just 1 trimester.
Yes, so usually per year you can take a maximum of like 6 electives.
But there's also
But there are
projects.
also projects and
That's like another elective.
yeah, that's kind of like another elective. So like kind of like 7-ish. Yeah, that's just general rule, like that's the maximum that you
Or like 9, right? Projects is 1 per trimester.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so
Yeah, there's
it's like
also-
9
Yeah.
electives per year at
Not
BCA.
electives.
And there's also electives during the day. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like.
Electives during the day, like
Yeah.
research.
Research,
Yeah.
sure.
So basically, at the end of the day at BCA, we have a specific hour that's basically called elective hour. You can choose to do an elective or do a sport. Sports usually will take up that hour because we end later than other schools. So in these electives, as Max said, they're paired Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Friday. So a max per trimester, at last hour, you can take 2 electives per trimester. And if you want to add more during your daily schedule, so during the school day, you can remove some of your frees and you can take another elective.
But yeah, there usually aren't that many electives offered during the day, so,
So in other words, if you are in the science academy and you can take the elective class offered by computer academy, but you cannot take the core classes of computer
Yeah,
academy.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I
as a
mean.
science, you can take Intro to Java and AP Computer Science.
that's also yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's a
Or
core,
individual.
another academy core course, core class.
So you can't get
Yeah.
into the depth that the other academies would get.
So for example, the computer science classes go up to about maybe the middle. The electives that you can take in computer science would go up to about the middle of the year, like middle of the year last year for me. But after that, there's no computer science class electives that are offered to go further.
So, what about BT?
We don't have that extra hour that they do, so you either just, so our schedule doesn't allow for as many electives, so I think this year we only had a choice for like AP Physics or AP Seminar, but we didn't have like specialized electives. But at the end of the day, like while they're doing their electives, we would, if you're doing sports, then we would just take a bus to BCA while they're like doing that class.
Oh, yeah.
So you can take a course to BCA, from BCA?
No.
The sports.
For sports.
Sports.
Just
Because we share sports.
No, we're gonna be talking about sports a little bit more later too.
Just to point out a difference between the two, BCA ends at 4:14, which is 1 hour.
4:10.
4:10, same thing. Which is 1 hour later than most schools, and BT still ends at 3. So you're getting an hour more from BCA, but you're going to end up at home a lot later than that usually, because buses leave from BCA at 4:30, which means at earliest you'll probably get home around 4:50 or 5. And if you add sports, that's another 3 hours. You have a late bus for sports, so you can get home from school without having to get a ride. But then you'll end up home at around 8-ish or so. So the time you get home is a lot later than normal schools, I guess.
So what about the homework, like usually like work?
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about that.
we'll
later.
talk about
Yeah.
it. For the second question, each of you guys in the different academies. So I just wondered, like, how did you choose that when you at the 8th grader to apply the BCA and BT?
So I chose the business program at BT. So personally, both my parents work in finance, so maybe that was a big push for me, like personally. But also, I also found like the stock market kind of interesting, so that's what prompted me to choose the business program.
I'm in culinary. I chose this program because like I thought that this was a skill that you would use like at one point or another in your life, and I wasn't really sure like, what specifically I wanted to do for college yet. So.
I primarily chose medical because I wanted to be a doctor to, I thought, help people. I think I was influenced by my parents as well. So what I recommend is just whatever, like in the end, it still comes down to like whatever I want to do. My parents can't force me to do.
So I chose business because I wanted something that wasn't too science or math focused, because everything else, like medical, you have to do all these biology things, and like science, you have to do physics and stuff. But I wanted something where you can mix math and English together, and business, you have the management side and you also have the finance side, so I thought that was a good combination. Yeah.
So I chose computer science because I've always been really into computers. Like my dad bought me a computer when I was like 10, and I've just been messing around with it ever since.
I chose engineering because ever since I was little, I was interested in like building things, making things, and I also really like math, so I felt like engineering was a good way to take courses that would apply math to something in the real world. And also both my parents have backgrounds in engineering, so that sort of inspired me.
Yeah, I chose science because I'm probably one of the most indecisive of this entire group. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do really. So I was interested a little bit in like computer science and also some biology, and then also some other engineering topics. So I wasn't entirely sure which one to choose. Like I was considering between science, engineering, computer science, and even medical at some point. So I have 4 different academies that I was like trying to choose from. And like I ended up choosing science really because I think it gives you a more, like a lot of people criticize it for being kind of general, and I kind of chose it because, well obviously you don't want to tell your interviewer this, but I chose it because like it was more like it prepared you to do more like, it is a more general academy kind of, like you could do more, like you get more of like a general science education. But in the future, you do have to keep in mind they are moving it towards like the more chemical engineering focused academy. So, yeah.
Okay, the next question is, what is your favorite part in your high school?
So at BT, I've got to say my favorite part of the high school is probably the teachers, because we have really great teachers here at BT, as I'm sure you do at BCA also. But at BT, I think we have a smaller teacher to student ratio than BCA. Is that true?
How many do you have in, well, how many people do you have in your math class?
Like 15.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah. So we have a smaller teacher to student ratio. So then the teacher really connects to you on a more personal level, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing, whether or not the teacher likes you. So yeah. So that's probably my favorite part of BT.
My favorite part is that like BT is like much smaller than BCA is, so like we're kind of like a community, and we're like most people are like really nice, so like we're all like mostly friends.
I think my favorite part about BCA is one aspect that no other high school has, which is the free time, like you mentioned. So like during the day, you have like allotted slots where it's like free time where you can choose whatever you want to do, as long as you're staying in the school. So like some students choose to like play pool, play ping pong. Some students, I mean for me, I just go straight and do work, basically. But some people also like, when it gets warmer, people go outside and play during their free time. So like, even though the school day is a lot longer, if you like take all the free time from what's in your schedule, I think you find that the schedule is actually shorter than high school, your normal high school. But that's just my perspective.
I think my favorite part about high school is the students. you get to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different towns around Bergen County, whereas all my life you've been in like one school district, you know the same people. So I think being able to see a lot of different perspectives is really cool, and you also get to make a lot of new friends that you can share and bond together through like work or electives or sports.
There's one thing I like about BCA is like just the amount of electives you can take. Like, for example, right now, I'm planning on doing an elective in like IT networking sort of thing. And then I'm also planning to do band next year again. And I'm also doing research in the mechatronics lab. So sort of an engineering thing.
One thing I like about BCA is the competitive environment. I feel like it depends on your perspective, but going into BCA, you should know that pretty much everyone who's accepted is from the top of their town school, and it's going to be competitive, but if you use that environment to sort of push yourself and challenge yourself to do better, it's really useful. And also, in addition to that, everyone at BCA sort of has their own unique talent, so getting to meet so many new people coming to a new high school was really helpful for me to experience some perspectives.
Yeah, so my favorite part of BCA is probably the community. I was kind of a nerd in middle school too, so like I didn't have any friends and stuff. So BCA, like I guess the community is just a lot. I don't know, like a lot of people think similar to you, and like they're kind of it's more friendly, I think, than normal high school.
Okay, next question is like because BCA and BT, I think they more a lot of focus on academic stuff. So I just wonder, is there any like arts or sports like the kids can join to do in their schools?
Yeah, so at BT, we are required to graduate, we are required to take at least one art or music elective. So we do offer a lot of like things. We also have a school band but we don't actually have we don't have as much free time as them. So the students that take band would have to like give up their lunch period to take band, so they'd have to eat really fast, which I don't know how they do. And then so we also do have a lot of sports. Our sports is the same as their sports, as we have the same sports teams. So yeah.
I personally participate in just running, so I run year round.
So we have most of the typical sports that a normal high school does. We have track team, we have football, that's not very good. We have basketball, we have soccer. But if you want to participate in your town sports activities, for example, if you want to do a sport that Bergen Technical Schools doesn't offer, such as wrestling or swimming, you can send a form to the front office or administration, I believe, so you can participate in your town sports. And these sports, as I've said before, will take place in the last hour of school at BCA. And this last hour also allows for a lot of music and art electives. We offer 3 different musics, or 4, I guess. We have musical programs. So like the primary biggest ones, we have band, we have orchestra, we have choir, like other primary high schools. But we also have a lot more specialized musical groups. You can have quartets within instruments, for example. And you can also join pit orchestra, which plays for the musical.
I think there's more bands. Maybe like
Concert band.
there's concert band,
Smaller
orchestra.
Oh
bands.
yeah.
It's like there's a bunch of small.
Yeah, you could do like there's like guitar too.
Yeah. So you also have a lot of classes for music. For example, as Max just mentioned, guitar and mandolin ensemble, where you get more of a unique instrument in mandolins and cellos that people typically don't play, and you get to learn how to play it from scratch. And there's also a lot of other more unique opportunities in music. For example, there's a guitar construction workshop where you can learn to create your own guitar. And there's a lot of different musical ensembles, as Edward just mentioned. For example, there's a student-run vocal ensemble known as Femme Fatale, which is basically an a cappella group of all females, and it's basically run and created by students.
Yeah.
So you can also create your own musical groups.
You also have to remember there's a bunch of art courses in BCA too. So we have AP Studio Art. I'm not that familiar with art courses, but we do have a lot of art courses. We also have a visual lab, so you can like work on VR stuff, video production, all that sort of stuff that you would like make in a computer and kind of like publish, like Photoshop, Illustrator. We have a lot of like art-related courses.
Okay, next question. How much workload is there in your high school?
So at BT, although we have, we don't have as much as them. It's basically it. I've heard from my friends over at BCA that they get a lot of homework. Well, I'm not speaking for you guys, so you guys know. But at BT, personally, I believe that we don't get as much homework, and we don't have a lot of late nights, from what I can gather. Yep.
So normally, how many hours? How many hours per day?
So this year we were at most we were allowed 1 AP, and so if you ask a high schooler, more APs or IBs equals more homework. So this year, since we only took 1 AP, it wasn't that much homework. I feel so around maybe an hour. I would guess maybe 3, 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Depending on whether or not there was tests the next day, then it would like jump. Yeah.
And it depends on like how you manage your time. So like
Yeah.
I have friends who would stay up to like 12 or like 1, but like I usually could get in bed by like 11 or 10:30.
I think in my opinion, it's like a misconception that there's a lot of work, because like when you first come in freshman year, you're definitely like, oh crap, there's a quiz tomorrow, and then you have one next week, and one next, and like it just keeps coming. But then I think a lot of people just don't manage their time correctly. So then when you hear that people are sleeping at like 4 o'clock in the morning, well, what were they doing at school? They were probably playing video games or something. So they weren't managing their time correctly. So I think if you can manage it correctly, at least at BCA, you can get all your homework done at school.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, even though I was taking like full elective, so I didn't have the last hour free, I was still able to do most of my homework during school, other than like a writing project or something.
So I think it actually really depends on what classes you're taking and your academy. For example, business, we get a ton of group projects, which means that you have to stay up with your group a lot and you have to keep practicing and practicing until your presentation is perfect, or you have to make sure that your poster is nice, or that you have everything timed perfectly and that you can communicate well with the audience. So for a lot of classes that require a lot of group projects, you're going to have to stay up a lot later depending on your group, I guess. So for example, on certain nights, it depends on how well you work as a group during class. So if your group isn't well connected and you can't work harmoniously, you're going to have to stay up a lot later trying to work out everything. So for example, sometimes your group members won't show up and do their work on time, so you'll have to do their work for them. So that led certain people to stay up for very long nights. But if you're able to effectively work together, I think that really will help the workload that you get.
Yeah, also, there's also one more important point that I want to make. I think for the last week or two of the trimester, there's usually something that we call Hell Week, which is where we have a bunch of tests and projects kind of crunched together. So we do get more of the workload kind of varies based on the time of trimester. So the last 2 weeks are generally pretty bad. So, at least for me, because I don't
If you spend
get it.
like a little bit of time every day studying, then you wouldn't have to spend all the time during that week studying. So
Yeah.
in reality, it's if you just spread out your time accordingly.
Yeah, if you were to manage your time well, it'd be not bad. But if you don't, like me, it's pretty bad.
So how many hours for your
It
homework?
really depends on the night. For some nights, I've had to do group lab reports on my own. I stayed up till 5 or 6 a.m. But that's once in the entire year, and usually you can get to sleep around 11, 12-ish for a normal homework night, unless it's Hell Week, as Edward mentioned. You're gonna have to study a lot for you'll have 2 or 3 tests on a single day. So
I think
it really varies.
computer science and medical just doesn't have that much homework, I guess.
No, there still is. It's just
Yeah.
you just have to manage it.
Yeah.
I finish most of my homework before I go home. Some maybe once or twice a month I'll have a writing project or some other big project I'll have to work on for a few hours at home.
Yeah, I guess time management is key. I
So
think we get that.
what about the engineer academy?
Okay, so my schedule, it was kind of strange because I had pretty much all of my free time on Thursdays, and and for the rest of the days of the week, I didn't have any free time, pretty much. So on Thursdays, I was pretty much able to get all of my homework done, but on other days, I was able to maybe get a third or half of my homework done. But like they said, it depends on like where you are in the year, how much homework each class is giving. So I would say it ranges from like 1 to 4 hours of homework.
Yeah. Just don't be scared away by the
Yeah.
homework.
If you manage your free time well and you're focused in school, then it shouldn't be a problem.
The actual written homework's actually very moderate. It's like a normal high school, I guess, maybe a bit more. But a lot of the time, I think that why people make it sound very scary is that you have to spend a lot of time studying and preparing for other things during the week.
Is your homework part of your grading?
Yeah.
You grade it for your homework?
Except for some strange classes.
Yeah, but if you participate in some kind of sports, which will interfere with your homework, right? Because you're gonna stay late for
Yeah.
sport practicing.
So like actually I know like personally I do sports all year round, and I know people that do the same, and like when I talk to them on their off season, they actually don't get as much homework done than when they're actually doing their sport. Because for most people, like I know some people that don't do a sport, once they go home they take like a 4-hour nap, and then they wake up and they start doing their work. So it's like so the people that do a sport, sometimes they find they're more efficient with their work than the people that don't.
So the next question.
How's the BT homework? You have a lot of-
We don't get that much.
Okay, next question. Why did you choose the Bergen County Technical Schools over your own town high school?
So I chose Bergen Tech over my normal town school because obviously Bergen Tech is more specialized in what I want to do in life, which is finance. So they offer more courses that my public school wouldn't offer. Like this year we learned how to budget and trade and like invest, and I don't think regular public schools would be very efficient in teaching students how to invest. They didn't offer any courses, so that's why I chose Bergen County Technical Schools. And also, as I mentioned before, the lower teacher to student ratio, so that's also a reason why I chose Bergen Tech.
Even better than normal school?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I chose BT because first of all, like it's like popular for like a lot of people to like go to those schools, and also I feel like it's like the ranking is higher than like my town high school.
Yeah, I think that just choosing BCA, primarily at first I saw the research program was definitely something that my local school didn't offer. So like I think Eddie can explain research better than I can.
I'm not sure about that.
I do mechatronics research.
Yeah.
So like definitely a lot of the resources available at BCA I think wouldn't be available at local high school.
So I think that BCA is a lot more academically focused than other high schools, and so you get a lot more academic experience in comparison to other schools, which will give you more of like a broader high school experience with more focus on other things, and also parents.
I just chose BCA because the program sounded interesting. One in computer science. I think I heard of it. Like one of my friends told me about it, and it sounded interesting, so I decided to apply.
Personally, my town school is really small because my town's small, so everyone's close knit together, but there's not much diversity in both the students and the courses that are offered. So when I saw at the open house, BCA has so many opportunities that you can take, and it really opened up my world, and I saw that there are so many other things that I could do.
Yeah, I guess I chose BCA mostly for the opportunities. There are a lot of competitions and a bunch of teachers host. I guess this year I did FRC, which is a robotics competition. We also did there's a bunch of other if you're interested in a thing, you can generally find a competition for it, and the teachers will be very helpful in helping you find something that you're interested in. And then there's also a bunch of other as was mentioned before, research programs. So you can do bio research. There's multiple teachers. There's multiple research people, and there's also a large variety of materials that you can use. then we have like electron microscopes, and you know everyone hears about the electron microscopes, and they're like, wow. We also have what else? We have like pretty well-fitted labs. So like if you want to come in and do something, there are all the resources that you need to do it. So it's just, if you want to do something, you can generally get it done. BCA.
When is the open house, BCA, every year?
It's in October or something. We're gonna be explaining the admissions process later, and we'll mention that.
Yeah, the BCA and the BT, they all have open house. I think they announced it at the beginning of the school year, right? When the next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, this, like September, they're going to start to plan the whole year. It's usually happen in October. Yeah. Okay, the next question. How does BCA community help each individual kid pursue their dream? No, not only BCA, BT,
Oh,
also
okay.
BT.
So we have, so I think this is the same for BCA, our majors teachers doesn't change throughout the years. Like, so we have a certain teacher to teach me business for all 4 years of high school, which is really great because they really get to know you and to like write your admissions process, write your like recommendations to like colleges and stuff. And they also see you grow throughout your 4 years. And so I think that's really great because my business teacher had over 30 years of experience on Wall Street. So she really knows like how to teach us and what we need to know. And so she really helps us through like, you know, admissions and all that.
And like also like the teachers are all like really great. So like, and they're like really good at connecting with each student. So like, and it's like highly possible, since BT is smaller, it's like possible for you to get like the same teacher like for like multiple years. So that makes it easier for each student to learn.
Okay. So I think, I don't know. So you actually get a lot of real experience in the fields that you are going to be going into or are interested currently. For example, in comp sci, they do a lot of actual coding on actual projects that you can show to the school after the end. In med, you can do a lot of biology and you can do surgeries in certain electives on animals. And in business, for example, we had to actually write a business plan for a business. So in the future, you'll already have some of that experience if you plan on going into that field.
Also, I guess, like, since you're choosing an academy, you're with people that generally want to do the same thing as you. So I've been working with one of my friends in the visual lab for a while. We've been making like a VR experience. So I guess you can work together to allow people if everyone's like pretty smart and helpful.
So like if you already have a direction or idea of what you want to do in your life, there's a lot of resources you can use. There's plenty of teachers that you can talk to. And also because the student population of BCA is so diverse, you're pretty much guaranteed to find someone who has some interest in what you're interested in. So you can find peers who can like push you and motivate you.
You also have to remember the free time in BCA, so you get a lot of free time to like work on whatever you want to, really. So if there's like a resource in the school that you want to use, if you have some free time and the teacher is also available to supervise you, you can also kind of do stuff in like the lab. Like for example, there's like an engineering lab. So if you were to be working on a project, you could try to like go there during your free time and do something.
And BCA, I think, I don't know if BTA has the same program, like every Wednesday, they not really give you a lot of class. They, like especially for the senior kids, they don't have class.
Yeah, seniors on Wednesdays are not in school for BT. They all have internships.
Yeah, so all the.
Same for BCA.
Yeah, that's, I feel like the kids really get a lot of
that.
experience with the real, yeah. And then next one, actually, yeah, do you regret your decision to go to Berkeley County Technical Schools? Why?
Not at all. I really enjoy my experience there at BT. Although I've, yeah.
I agree. Like overall, like I think I made a good decision to go to BT.
I think if there wasn't any free time, I definitely would have long dropped. Because I feel like, because I changed my mind, I didn't want to do medical anymore. And without that free time, I would have just been forced along the same path. But at least with the free time, I had the choice to try other things. So But I do know people that did leave BCA, and many of them were for the same reasons, like they wanted to pursue something outside of the academy that they chose, and they couldn't do it, so they had to go back.
Can the second year, like sophomore, change or no? Once you you
No.
You can't.
Okay. But you still can tailor, as you said, elective.
As much as you can. Limited.
I don't think I regret my decision because the people there are really supportive and they also have a very similar mindset to yourself. So if you're like suffering because of workload or something, you know that there's someone else that's also suffering with workload like you. So everybody's there, you can relate to each other, you have similar interests, and therefore I think you have a lot more like-minded group of people than a normal high school.
I also don't regret my decision. I like the community there, I like all the electives, all the classes, they're all pretty good.
Yeah, same. I don't regret my decision to apply to BCA at all because it allowed me to follow a more specific path because I already knew I wanted to do something in engineering. So applying to BCA allows me to like narrow down my path even more to find what I want to do.
Yeah, I don't regret it either. I guess the only thing that I really kind of regret is like, not really regret, but like the homework is kind of, there is a lot of homework, but I wouldn't consider that to be like a thing to kind of regret. Like I would, yeah, I don't regret my decision to go to BCA. I think the benefits outweigh the harms.
Okay, so next question, like, how much should parents be involved in the admission process? Like, yeah.
So I personally believe that there's a balance between, like, parents shouldn't just leave like the whole admissions process to their child, but then again they shouldn't be like helicoptering around and be like, oh, I'm gonna write your essay for you. I don't think they should do that. I think they should be involved, but not too involved.
I also agree because it's kind of about like what your kid wants to do, but at the same time you want to make sure that they're not making the wrong decisions. So like guide them, but like don't help too much, I guess.
I think one place where parents definitely shouldn't be involved is when the student chooses their academy, because I still think the student should be the one choosing what they're interested in, because in the end that's what's going to happen.
But what if the child doesn't know what he or she wants to do in the future, and kind of lost?
Well, then there's
one of them. There's more general academies, like I guess science and business. Like I still don't know what I want to do in the future actually.
So then I think the parents should try to like, I don't know, maybe like have. That's a hard question. I think still just finding an answer to that question is probably the most.
Yeah, and going to the open house will help you.
Yeah,
with
the
that.
open house is good.
Yeah, how much like the parents lay out the pros and cons, of any academy, I mean, even though from the outside, but looking at the courses or whatever, so we can just tell, okay, if you choose this academy, we'll be focusing on this area, I mean, that kind of suggestion, I think the parents should tell the kids.
I'm not even sure if,
Unless you're.
yeah, I'm not even sure if you want to take like an analytical approach too much. I guess it's more of like just if the kid is, like which one she feels most strongly about, kind of. I'm not sure if the analytical approach, like pros and cons would be the best.
I
But
feel like
you could
computer
definitely.
science is pretty good. Everything involves computers now.
Well,
How do you start an initiative about going to BCA? From friends, peers, or parents told you, okay, there's BCA, you should try to do it. How you started this mindset, doing something maybe better? I'm just from my daughter's perspective, probably she never heard, she doesn't know it, and there's BCA, you should go. Is that how do you know the BCA in the very beginning? How did you heard it?
I have like a couple of friends, like older friends who like went to BCA and like graduated and everything, so that kind of like pushed me to want to do it too.
And also I had family friends who talked about BCA, but also the upperclassmen from my town who applied to BCA also told me about it and they really enjoyed it. So
BCA has like a sort of reputation as like a prestigious school, but they also offer a lot of programs to people who aren't in BCA yet. For example, they have a math team running from like 4th graders 8th graders for middle school, you can already start going to their math team program. And they also have a BCA summer camp where they offer a lot of like math help or robotics help and such like that. Was there any question?
Actually,
Oh,
yeah.
parents.
Okay, so back to the parents. One of the biggest things that administration will tell the students during orientation and during the beginning of the school year, application.
We're doing applications.
Application and orientation is that the student should want to be at BCA. You shouldn't be there because your parent wants you to be there. So I think there should be some sort of like 80-20, 75-25 split where it's primarily the student's choice to at least choose what academy and like what path they're going to be taking in BCA. So I think the student should have a significant amount of power.
Okay, so then what I think parents should do maybe is to help their kids like prepare to get in, like maybe like come to the review class for the admission test and making sure you can like talk during an interview. I think that's probably the most important thing for parents to do.
I guess parents should also kind of oversee the process, like to a certain extent, like to make sure that your child is like actually writing an essay or like actually having things ready on time. I think the parent should also maybe like after your like child is finished writing the essay, you can maybe look over it. Don't like and kind of suggest how to make like you should kind of play a role in trying to make your child's application better, but don't like lead it for them. Just kind of take what they have and try to maybe give some like friendly suggestions as to like maybe how you can revise the essay or something.
Yeah, so the parents can help proofread your child's application to make sure that they're presenting themselves to BCA in their best light possible. But most of it, like getting teacher recommendations, that's up to the student to find teachers who know them well and can write the best recommendation for them. So a lot of the application process, or most of it, is the student's responsibility.
I don't think there should be a situation where the student and parents are actively going against each other in their decision. So, for example, if you have like indecision, you shouldn't like make it seem like no other possibility is an option. You shouldn't make it so that you're arguing every other day, like go to BCA, and the student's like no. And I think you should make it clear that BCA is not your only path in life. Because I know that I personally argued a lot with my parents over BCA, and I was very like on the edge about BCA. So I just decided to take the plunge and try it out at least. So you could suggest things like that, but I don't think you should actively be like changing your child's interests just for BCA.
I remember, I still remember the first time when I go to the open house, right? Yeah, the first sentence I heard from the principal said, if today your child drag you here, that's mean this is a school for your child. If today, you drag your child here, that's mean it's not a school. Yeah, I still remember that. That's actually really impressive. The first sentence I heard from the principal. Yeah. Okay. The last question is, how did you make yourself stand out from the other applicants? So during the application process, how did you make your shining out? Yeah.
I think standing out during the application process, for BT at least, rests mostly on maybe not just recommendations, because obviously everyone's going to come in with like recommendations that, oh, this is like the best students I've ever had. But so I think it rests mostly on like their essay, how they present themselves within their essay. I think that was really what makes students stand out.
I also think that like a lot of like your extracurriculars, like clubs that you join, like volunteering, like I think that like plays a big role in like whether or not you get accepted. Because like I think that like a lot of kids at one point they're like at the same level because they're all good, but then like those little things.
I think definitely for me was not investing my time in stuff that everyone else was doing because they wanted it on their application. It was more of that I wanted to do it, and I was willing to put the time in to certain activities. Then I put my time into that, and that made me stand out compared to people that just did it because they wanted it on their application.
I think it's sort of similar to college. You can't just focus on your academics. Everybody who's applying will already have like a gleaming academic record. It's just like college. Even if you have a perfect SAT score and perfect subject test, but if you don't do anything else, you still won't get in. So do a lot of a variety in your activities. For example, you can attend like a Brainbusters or like Quiz Bowl club in your school, but you can also do a sport like soccer or tennis. And I also think another major part of making yourself stand out is the interview process. It's where you actually get to talk to teachers of the school and show your true character and show that you belong in a community like BCA.
Yeah.
How much is a factor the interview process?
I think the
So every-
That's unknown, that's unknown.
So every-
Only admissions knows.
Every student you got interview, right?
No,
That's
I
a
think
part
not
of-
for BT.
Well, no, not for.
You have to
Yeah,
do,
okay.
you have to do well enough in the entrance exam and like your essay to have an interview.
I think.
So I guess my question is, if academically, as you said, you all said everything about the same for all the students. So what stand out one is the interview process and the individual essay.
Oh, and the accomplishments list.
And the what? I'm sorry.
Accomplishments list, like other
Accomplishments, extracurriculars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I
And
think-
also community service.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
think
that's part of the
yeah.
accomplishments.
But I think the interview, I think what they do is the teachers grade you from a scale of 1 to 3. So 3 is great, 2 is like okay, and then 1 is like no, definitely not. So I think when you're going into the interview process, there are some kids that are kind of slated for like, yes, we definitely want them, and then there's some kids that are like, probably not, but maybe if they do really well in the interview, and then there's some kids that are kind of in between. So the interview process kind of matters a different amount to different people.
So if there's any specific topic during the interview, the teacher talk, or just general impression or overall the skill of personality, characters of the student?
They're good.
Yeah, there's a list of questions actually that they go through, I think.
I see.
Like general stuff like why'd you choose BCA?
Yeah.
And then more like academy specific questions. One of the ones I was asked is what operating system does your computer run? It's a pretty
Yeah.
basic computer question, but
There's no,
you should
like-
definitely know the answer if you're choosing computer science.
There's no like written list of the questions, but it's pretty similar to like, there is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there is a written list of questions. And
Have it?
I don't know if it's released, but.
It's definitely
It's
not
definitely
released.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
definitely-
so, well, there's like, you can think of the general questions you're asked when you're applying to a school or college. Like, what talents do you have that pertain to this academy? Why did you choose it? And as Max said, you're going to be asked at least one like weird question. At the end of my interview, I was asked, if you took everything out of your interview room, how would you profit from this room? So it's like a really business specific question that you should be prepared for. And another big part of the interview process is like how you carry yourself, how you speak. Like show that you're confident and that you actually have interest in your activities, and don't show you're just like,
Yeah, I was talking to one of the interviewing teachers, and he said there was a surprising amount of people that like just couldn't do an interview. Like they were just not able to answer questions. I think that's an off. So I think it's like an overlooked part sort of a lot of times.
I think going back to how you make yourself stand out from like other applicants before the interview process, I think it's also a lot about like really who you are as a person. Because like if you're really truly passionate about what you do or like what you want to do in the future, then that'll show in your like extracurriculars or your activities, like what you choose to do. So if you're really passionate about computer science, for example, you'll have maybe like a portfolio of a few things that you've done, like a few things that you've coded, some things maybe that you've published like some sort of app store. And then really like the way you talk or the way you write in your essay will kind of reflect that like your personality and your passion for like what you do. So if you're passionate about what you do, or if you really like, you don't really even have to know what you want to do, but if you're like kind of, if you kind of dive deep into something, then they'll know it, and that can make yourself stand out.
Yeah, another part of making yourself stand out is showing them that you have something to offer to the BCA or BT school community. So if you have any extracurriculars, like even if you apply to a certain academy, you want to show them that your extracurriculars are diverse and you're not just stuck on one thing and like only academics. So for me personally, I'm really into music, so I used my flute and piano like competitions and performances as part of it to show. And also I mentioned in my essay how I would be able to contribute to the musical community at BCA. So from the admissions office perspective, they want to see why they should accept you, because not only do you have to benefit from the school, but they also have to benefit from you.
And like a good perspective is like, people always say you need to be well-rounded, like you have to do this. But I think, to be honest, it's like, well-rounded is good, but you should be well-rounded with one edge, one really sharp edge. And that's where you put in your passion and your interest.
Yeah, normally, like, usually every year, like about 2,000 people apply to the BCA.
How many get?
And, about 600 will get the interview, notice. And then after that, from 600, they go to, every year it's kind of a little bit different, but, at least 260s at least every year they go to admit this kind
So
of.
about one third.
Yes, yeah.
Do candidates accept in both the schools, BT and BCA, because the same test and there is no interview for the BT?
Actually for like admissions, I think we take the same test, like.
But the separate application form?
Yeah,
separate-
it's like in the application, you can check a box like, oh, I'm applying for both
both,
BCA
okay.
and BT, and so like the test would count for both.
And also, I'm pretty sure, I think the test was 40 questions. So BT, I found out from the teacher that BT only looks at the first 20, while BCA, because those are the easier questions, but then BCA looks at overall.
Yeah, and also just to be clear, if you're applying to both BT and BCA, you have to write 2 separate essays for the academies that you're applying to.
Same problem.
Yeah.
No question, you have a different program. When you apply, you have to specific before interview, before the admission, you have to choose the special program or you get in then choose it.
You have to choose.
You have to choose.
You have to pre-choose.
You
So in that case, each program is different competition, right? Depending.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
some
we're not,
programs.
people aren't entirely sure how it works, but yeah, so you give them a first choice and a second choice. I think some people think that there's competition within your town, between each between each academy, and then some people think there's competition between everyone. So I think if you are, there is to some extent, you do kind of compete with the other people from your town. But it's not only that. If you're really good, then you should play it. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, so it's actually the handout I just give to you is application process plus our JI program. But in the application progress, you can see it's actually both schools actually use the same application. The website, everything are same. Yeah, only the difference between is interview and not interview. And you need to choose which school you're going to go and which academy, which program you're going to. And from a BCA, the website is that they actually majority to let kids go to the first choice. Yeah, majority they give them the first choice of their school.
So from what Andy said, it sounds like is there a specific number they choose from each town or overall?
For BT, it's not like that.
Yeah.
BT, there's no limit to each town. It's
Actually everyone,
Yeah.
so for them you have to count each town, so you are in different town, you may be
Actually,
different.
no one really knows how it works.
So the BCA do go to the town quarter.
Yeah, they do go
the town,
to-
each town have their own quarter.
Well, officially they say they don't do this, obviously, you can't say that.
So for
There is a
example,
pattern.
in Paramus, so
In
Paramus they only
there's
take 5 and,
11. Out of all Paramus, there's only 11.
I
So
see.
there's half from one school, half from the other school.
Oh,
usually
so
depends
other
on how
town it
large.
may be different, so.
It depends on how large.
I see, so you have a town competition
Yes.
too?
Yes.
Oh,
The
okay.
admissions process is very complicated on the
Oh, I
admissions
don't
side.
There's
know.
definitely some population based.
I used to hear all we can do is speculate, we have no idea how it works.
Ridgewood took 11-ish.
Yeah.
It's been wildly
I think it was around 10 people.
It was 10.
I see, okay.
And
No, I didn't
usually
see that.
there's a range for certain towns. For really small towns, you'll have 2 or 3 people. I know for one town, only 1 kid got in to BCA from that town, but in I don't know, Edric, but in other towns, bigger towns like Ridgewood, Paramus, you're gonna have around double digit, 10, 11, 9 to 11 people.
Yeah. And
Can you walk me through about your the preparation that you take for the exam, both math as well as for the essay?
JEI. I'm not sponsored.
So what's the question?
The question is like, what type of test preparations that you take?
So a lot of people do actually go to a specific test prep center for these tests for the entrance exam. Some of them even prepare you for the interview, and you have like a professional person that you talk to and come up with responses to. But basically, you want to do a lot of like math practice for your like 7th and 8th grade math. Make sure that you have that all down. Make sure that your English and writing is also like sufficient for it, because a lot of the test is not going to be like super hard. It's not going to be like high level competition math. It's going to be basic, a bit high level like math for the math section. So a lot of kids prepare using AMC8. They do some problems from there. They also take problems from other test prep books, and yeah. And you should also learn a bit of vocab, I guess.
So from the complexity standpoint, comparing with AMCA, what is the range? It's from 1 to 10. BCA math test, it's like compared to AMCA, which range it would be?
AMC8 is definitely hard.
Well, no, I think it's
Actually, it's every year is different.
It's a competition.
Yeah, you cannot just say because,
Math class, yeah.
yeah, there's a math, competition of
I think
yeah.
when I
our year was really hard.
Our year
I got like
probably
I got like 50%
I'm not
on the math.
I'm not completely sure.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It changes every
Different
year.
days have different
Okay.
difficulties.
Wait, really? Okay,
Saturday was a
I'm not
really hard. Did you say
Sunday is the hardest.
Sunday is the
Sunday.
hardest. Saturday was easy.
And
Every
then they curved
Saturday.
it.
Yeah. So it's different each year. You're not gonna have a set difficulty level, but it won't be like exorbitantly hard.
I think over you definitely like over 20 on the AMC like you 20 to 25 is definitely not the pure on the BCA test,
Okay.
but like under that I think maybe 15 and down. I'm not really easy to.
But also you have to keep in mind
What
when
is
you're.
it? What do you call it? Saturday, Sunday?
So there's like 2 test days, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. The one on Saturday is like rumored to be easier than the Sunday one. And so
Yeah, these are all
like,
rumors.
you have
That's
to
all rumors.
Yeah.
you have to remember that like just because it's easy for you, like it's easy for like everyone else. So like just don't make mistakes on the Saturday one.
On the other side, as Max said, he had a really hard test, so other people also think it's really hard, so you'll have a curve.
Yeah, so you have to keep in mind that when you're taking the test, everything's relative. So if the test is hard, it's probably going to be hard for everyone. So it'll pretty much stay fair even if the test is easier or harder.
Oh, so you can choose either to test on Saturday or
Yes.
Sunday? Oh.
Same thing with your interview. You
Yeah.
also have, you have different time. You just go online and actually, you have a paper,
It's online.
and that it's online to choose the date, right? Yeah. So all the application process actually is inside, it's on the paper you got.
Yeah, I have a question. How many of you guys do you hang out with your middle school's friends? And and how often you hang out with them? Do you feel like you are fading away from your old friends, and how you do how you have the connection still with your old friends?
I think it sort of depends on the person.
Yeah.
Because now you can do a lot of online communication with your friends. You
I
can still,
see.
you can still text them. You can still like talk to them, FaceTime, play
Right.
games with them. You can
Yeah.
also go out on weekends or during breaks is a really good time. But I have noticed that a lot of kids tend to lean more towards BCA kids.
Yeah.
As their
I
friend group
see.
now.
Well, I didn't, of course I've said this before, I didn't have many friends in middle school anyway, and most of my friends that I had in middle school are now in BCA.
I see.
So,
You brought us one friend.
yeah, I don't have that much communication with the existing friends in middle school, but I'm sure that's different for other people.
So you're more towards the new friends from BCA.
Yeah.
You can still definitely
You see
maintain a
them a lot.
See
relationship.
them like every day, so.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure now it's like open to like anyone can ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This-
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, feel free to
Yeah.
ask.
How you guys prepare for interview?
So,
know there's some other services that have a list of questions. I don't personally think that's very ethical, but that's an option.
What I did personally is I went to someone who was a freshman that year, and I asked them like what questions they had, in like the same academy, of course. So I asked them what questions they had, and they kind of like helped me out with a few of the questions that they had, and like I answered them, and they kind of gave me some feedback as best they could.
Yeah, you should try to prepare a general area of response. Don't make a script at what you're gonna say, because you don't know what questions you're gonna get, and you don't want to sound robotic either. So just know a basic list of bullet points or something that you want to say, and know how to answer the most general questions.
Yeah,
People, you go ahead.
So it'll be questions like about you, like, you know, what do you like to do in your free time and stuff. And then there's definitely going to be a question like, why'd you apply to BCA? And then there'll be like academy specific questions. So you have to be at least familiar with what your academy wants beforehand.
I also remember like with any interview you practice the firmness of the handshake, all that
Posture.
Pretty young man and lady, you know how to do this.
There's also some things you should keep a lot of questions you should keep in mind. Make sure you don't get tripped up on them. For example, one question they may ask you is, what is the worst aspect about yourself?
Like, what is your weakness?
Yeah, what is your weakness? You don't want to say wow, I'm lazy or something like that. You want to make it sound articulate and show that either you can improve or it's not an actual weakness. A lot of people are like, I spend too much time studying. So you can do something like that, but just keep in mind there are some more tricky questions.
Yeah, so when you're asked, when you're asked questions in an interview, even if it's a negative question, you want to show them that you acknowledge that you have some flaws, but you want to turn it around and make it a positive.
Yeah, what you definitely do not want to do though is write down the answer to every question that you think of, because that'll just make you sound robotic and not genuine. You want to, it's kind of hard. It's you want to kind of prepare, but you also don't want to prepare really that much. So there's kind of a balance you have to hit. You don't want to be memorizing your answers, but you also don't want to be coming into each other then you've never seen them before. Yeah.
So I think that even if you're even slightly interested in applying, you should definitely go to the open house. You get a tour of the specific academy you're interested in, or you can get a general tour of the entire building and an explanation of every course. You have actual students, juniors and sophomores, that will run through the tour with you, and so you can ask them questions about their experiences, and you can talk to them about specific courses and what they chose and stuff like that.
Yeah, the open house, you guys definitely need to go. And it's actually related to different area you choose, right? You choose, you go to science.
Last year we went to open house, just a general tour, wasn't it wasn't a public tour academy.
They should be having one general tour and all those academies. So you either choose an academy specific or a
general tour now.
Yes,
It's a general tour.
They have separate. They have separate. Yeah, because we choose is the science.
But that was 2 years ago.
That was last year.
It's different.
Last year.
Okay.
There was
There's also okay.
During the open house, do they also have a section like this, actually your kids, your students talking? So I think
No,
that
the
there should
student
be
gave
here.
you the tour.
Yes.
The students
Yeah,
actually
the
walk
student
you
gave
through
you
the
a
student
tour. The student gave you a tour.
Yeah, but I wish, my daughter is taking tests, she should hear and listen. She doesn't listen to me, but she
So
will listen to me.
we are actually live streaming this, so if you want to go online later, you can watch a kind of playback of lab.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you already did this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Exactly right.
So Cynthia listen to that,
Yeah.
not listen
So
to
every,
This is good for her, isn't it?
Well, I think the parents also need to understand what
Yeah.
the difference between the BT and the BCA, and when you guys make a choice, it's kind of, it's,
I think Cynthia will be also beneficial. She likes to hear the kids talking about it.
What about your grading? Is it hard getting in school? What average
I think compared to middle school, you're definitely going to have to try a lot more. Because in middle school, you're just everyone else. Middle school was typically an easy A for everybody, but when you get to BCA, you have to learn a lot more time management. You have to learn how to like study effectively, I guess. So you're not going to expect the same grades, especially when you're first adjusting to BCA. Some of your grades might be different than what you would expect. Like for example, I had like all A pluses in middle school, but we don't have A pluses in BCA. But on the first like bio test, I got like a B plus. But you'll adjust to the curriculum and the workload. So eventually you get used to it.
And the B plus is not the end of the world.
Yes. B plus is pretty good.
And give the contact information, so you guys can put in, so then we can, like, when we grade your kids, the grade, we can let you guys know, yeah.
Yeah.
All of the teachers are those available if you have a question after school?
Oh, definitely.
It sounds like a free time you can.
Yeah, I think teachers have
Office hours.
teachers have office hours. So every teacher will have a schedule. Like usually it'll be posted on the door, or you can find it online or something. And then they will have certain free time or like office hours that you can go in and talk to them. Or alternative, you can also like shoot them an email or something, and they're usually very responsive.
Do you get an average score or an average grade score at BCA? Is that affect your college application? I mean, of course, it's a very prestigious school and they should take that into consideration. A lot of times, they compare, this school versus some local school, and they say, hey, that kid has A plus throughout, but you have a couple B, would that affect it?
I think most colleges take into consideration the level of BCA.
Yeah, and you also have to remember grades aren't everything. Like, I think I've seen people with like 3.6 GPAs go to like pretty good schools. It's like in the end, it's kind of your extracurriculars to play a very large part in it. Like the college just wants to see if you are a good, like this is a completely different subject obviously, but I think the college just wants to see if you're like a good fit in the school. And even if some of your grades might suffer a little bit, I think the opportunities in extracurriculars still would kind of make the school, I think it'd be better that way.
Yeah, and also, I think it's based on each school, they weight each school differently. Yeah, because when I go to different college, when I talk to, the kids in the BCA, they will know the BCA name, yeah.
So what about the role of the counselor? Do you guys start with freshmen, you guys working closer with the counselor or just until the junior year?
I think every year there's the seminar that you have with your guidance counselor. So you're split up into groups based on who your guidance counselor is, and they talk to you, so you guys can connect with your guidance counselors that way. But also, I think every year there's also a mandatory meeting with your guidance counselor where you meet up with them one-on-one, and they review your courses and how you're doing and your performance, and you get to talk to them. And also, you can make appointments with your guidance counselor anytime they have time. So if you have questions, or it's also always a good idea to just go to them and catch up with them and just have conversations so that they know you better as a person.
I think the level of involvement with your counselor is kind of dependent on you. Like you can choose to have a much closer involvement and ask them for more advice, or you can kind of just choose to be detached and do your own thing and kind of just go to them once a year. So I think personally, I don't have that much of a bond with my guidance counselor.
Yeah.
But if you want, you can ask them about stuff.
I'm the same as Eddie. I personally only do the required meetings with my counselor, and I actually talk to my counselor a lot, my current counselor a lot less than I did to my middle school counselor.
So are they assigned to you at the beginning of the year and it's
Yes.
throughout?
It's academy specific assignments, I believe.
Okay.
So a certain guidance counselor will cover a certain part of the academy. For the bigger academies, like science, I believe, you're gonna have more than one counselor for different groups.
Okay.
But for a smaller academy, you're going to have one counselor covering the entire academy.
I think of BT and BCA, the counselor to the student ratio is much lower than the town, right? The town high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I think each one counselor, in BCA, it's like about one counselor take care like 40 kids around in each year.
Most of them assist with like the college application process.
They write recommendations.
Yeah, the high school counselor is very important.
Yeah, and so
What's the ratio again, at 1 to 40?
I mean, I wouldn't.
I
don't
it's
know.
not.
Really don't like take
So
it like.
only for the high school or for the counselor? The middle school also have?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a counselor isn't specifically for college. You can go to them with a lot of different concerns.
They handle your schedule and stuff.
Oh, even middle school? I thought
Yeah.
everybody's schedule the same.
No.
The middle
You
school,
can
like,
talk
the guidance
to
counselor.
them about like student issues or like psychological issues or any problems that you're having. They're not there for any like specific purpose, like we're giving you college advice or something.
Yes, they're just there for you to talk to.
When you apply, you choose your subspecialty already, or
Yeah.
like when you apply for the school?
Yeah, you choose your
You
academy.
can't choose more than one.
You choose one as your secondary in case there's too many.
But you very rarely get your second.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when you're writing your application essay, you should mainly focus on your first choice.
Are there some specialty more competitive compared to others? So this is more for kids who couldn't really decide what they want to do. They want to do engineer or computer, which one would help them?
Because science every year is like 60 kids, right? And medical is around 60 kids too, right? And
Yeah.
then, engineer,
It's like, it ranges from 30 to 40.
and a business around 60 too.
No. Business is like 36-ish.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel
So
like
the
business.
science and the medical have more.
Those are the biggest.
More,
Yeah.
more
kids.
But
we probably
regarding.
most kids to apply anyway.
Yeah.
So
Regarding.
in the end, you focus on like what you've spent time on. Choose what academy you want, right? Like if I spend time building stuff, then I choose engineering. You know, whatever you spend more time on is what you should eventually do.
I wouldn't worry about the difficulty of getting it. Like, as far as we know, they're all the same. We're not. I'm not quite sure like which ones are harder or easier, but I wouldn't use that as like deciding which one you want.
For
Yeah.
science, if you apply science, it's more competitive. The chance is less than like the performance, things like that.
But like, if you never did any performing arts
Then
and you went and applied and you did,
Yeah.
like, it
You're
doesn't
not
make
gonna
any
get
sense.
I don't think you should apply to something just so you can get into BCA.
So if you're really interested in the area, then you have a good chance of getting it. If you present yourself.
Are there buses to?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Each time.
I think there's a bus there and there's a bus back, but usually they come very early and like I think Alex has it pretty bad, but I think my bus comes to our house at like 6:40. And
I personally carpool since
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
bus is going to come like an hour and a half before school starts. Like, for example, sometimes you have to get, if school starts at 8, you might have to be at your bus stop at like 6:20 or so. So you can get like an extra hour of sleep if you just want to carpool or something similar to that.
I think
Does when BT starts every day?
Same time.
Same time, 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay. Because lately, I heard a lot of like, the BT right now is rating is like every year higher and higher. I think last year they rated it, number 36.
Well, that's just because like all the ratings take into account APs and BCA is more like IB focused, and we don't have IB, so that's why we're.
But you guys, I just saw like BT, their school rating much higher. Every year, it's.
Oh,
It's like
that's
a program that's designed so if you want to go to
Oh, really?
Yeah, on last year's song.
It's like an international
So bad.
standard.
They dropped their rating like so.
Oh, just like
This year was
AP
smart.
and
They're like pretty
it's similar
similar.
like
Similar,
okay,
yeah.
it's more like the international.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So the application process is actually, I think it's majority, all the kids handle. They actually have a website, in there, there's a
So
website.
like, okay, if
Yeah.
you are rising 8th grader, you should start application
Yeah, that's
right now,
right. You go to the website and you register your account and you have a student ID. You can get your student ID from your counselor. Yeah,
I see.
yeah, then
Do like a-
then you apply everything online. You write your 400 words essay. Yeah, and you need to ask three the recommendation letter, one science, one English, and one math. I think math, the required is your 8th grade teacher. And for English and science, you can either go to 7th or 8th.
I see.
Yeah, so everything need to, I think the deadline is December 15th. Yeah.
You definitely want to make sure you get everything before that deadline though, at
Yeah.
least like a couple, like a week or so in advance is good
So
because
AC only 400?
there's a lot of
Yeah.
different.
But there's also a list of achievements.
Yeah, so you're.
Why do you?
You have your 100 words to go on your achievements.
Oh, it's every year it's the same
Yes.
topic?
Yeah, so you ask your kids need to follow up with the teacher to remember to send in the recommendation letter before they should, but just to
You want to
kind of check.
like ask your teachers early because you don't know how long they're going to take to write your
Yeah.
recommendation.
So basically, once the fall starts, then you can start working on that right away, or you?
If you're gonna ask your 8th grade teacher, I suggest you build a relationship with whatever teacher you're asking first at least. So choose teachers that like your student and you have a good connection with them so they know you well and they will write something positive about you. So make sure it's not just like a teacher you just met or something. So,
So is the recommendation letter really have impact or no?
Yeah.
It's very important.
Is September a little longer?
You can start like drafting your application essay if you already know what academy you're going to.
I mean, it's not really too early to think about it, but I don't think if you're not sure which academy you want to go to yet, then you probably don't want to start writing your essay because then you don't know which tailor you're using.
yeah.
Yeah, so for your math is the only one that you're required to ask your 8th grade teacher for. You can focus on making a good impression when the school year starts.
So you basically have 3 months to prepare yourself really you want to do and build up a relationship with your recommendation letter.
Recommendation letters later, right?
Recommendation later,
It's a little bit later.
yeah, a little bit later,
it is
yeah,
January.
it's like, yeah, just, I think in January
The
something,
deadline
yeah,
after
sometime,
the
yeah. The
application.
recommendation letter, yeah, deadline is
If it's
after.
required by the 8th grade teacher, so you definitely need to know each other before
Yeah,
you
yeah.
write down, right?
Yeah.
So 7th grade.
Yeah, and, for the part test, I think right now the BCA don't consider that, yeah.
You can add it as your accolade if you score really well on it, but it's like not. This makes it sound very complicated and like a really huge like burden on everyone, but it's like if you take it steadily, it should be fine for everyone. Like if you're not having to rush for anything, and if your student is performing well and wants to go to BCA, it shouldn't be that like huge of a hassle to do the other.
So the test is like is English and math. English is like 45 minutes, you need to read the one article and then write an essay, write your opinion about it. And for the math, it's like 40 questions, 60 minutes, you need to do that 40 questions, yeah. So be prepared. If you like more science or like engineer, those kind of part, I think the math is very important. Yeah, if you go to business, your writing is also very, very important.
So there's Sunday program, Andy was the assistant there. Is it really help for the math? Or is it pretty?
I think it does. I think the math program, it does help with their math. It's like that's what you're interested in. But regarding the BCA application process too, with BCA math team, I don't think it matters that much.
We tried a couple times. It's very badly organized.
Yeah.
If the kids well control, like the Carol said, how to manage the time, you may beneficial there. But otherwise,
Remember, BCA math program is not really teaching program. The BCA math program is more like competition. The kids really enjoying the math. They go there, yeah, they follow all the competition. Yeah, they do, and they don't have a teacher to teach them.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah.
but it's still also not.
Because it's run by students, so you.
I know, it's
Yeah.
kind of, if a kids well controlled and know what to do, it is really beneficial.
Yeah, but the kids really have interest to do the math, they should go join there. I feel that is actually a very good program for the kids to really have some the initiative do some math more, yeah. But if you want to learn, you better to go to like, the here. Yeah, we do have a prep program. Yeah, it's around every Saturday, start September. Yeah, it's going to say.
So we are in BCA.
No, that's the BCA math program is on a Sunday. So our
I know.
our prep program is on Saturday from 9 to 1 o'clock. So 2 hour the practice the math, the 2 hours do the English. Yeah. So and for the English part, the teacher actually leads the kids about this application program because they actually going to remind them you need to write an essay. When they write the essay, then the teacher actually review it, going to go through that with you, give some suggestion the kids to change it. Yeah. So that's and then we actually have a boot camp on the December 27th to 29th. There's 3-day boot camp. It actually just to do give the actual like the practice before because this year we believe is like January 6th is for the test. So
what test? BCA?
The BCA test, the BT BCA, we all test that together, yeah. And so we have a boot camp like during the winter break. So that's our two programs for that.
Actually, do you get those test questions or you don't?
No, the
or
test question, nobody knows.
But there should be somebody should have a similar like what do you talk about MCA something, you know.
No, nobody
similar.
have that.
No,
test.
I know actual question you don't get, but it like in every
We have similar
certificate exam you should have some mock like you have right now.
No, this one, but it's not from BCA.
I know,
It's not
I know.
totally, just BCA. BCA actually try to avoid have all the tests.
Yeah,
Any kind of
course.
learning
Of
center
course,
try to
yeah.
that's it. Yeah. So we do prepare the kids good for to do the BCA test. Actually, Eddie actually did this program like 3 years ago. Yeah, he actually never attended any other like tutor thing. Yeah, just did the BCA prep here, and I feel like that year, his math grew really high. It's like it's much advanced than the like at the school normally. Yeah, so it's actually prepared very good. So you guys would think if you guys go to the prep. If not, I suggest you guys need to do some at home too. Yeah, to prepare like math. You need to prepare also the articles because like inside the 45 minutes, the kids read an article and they need to analyze it and they need to write the structured the essay. It's very intense. So it's not easy job. Like 45 minutes can get all those. Yeah. Strongly suggest you guys should do this.
Just know that even if you send your kid to, like, force your kid to all the BCA math camps, BCA summer camps, it's not going to have that big of an impact on your application, so don't force them to go to a math team just so you think, wow, it's better on the application.
Without the prep, I think the prep classes.
Prep classes do help.
They do help.
I think, I think any sort of practice is good. Yeah, like practice is very good for it. Just don't like overwork your kids. Let them still do extracurriculars. Let them have fun. Let them finish their schoolwork and stuff. Don't make them focus only on BCA for the first half of the year. Just let them
Did you guys
experience
all
it.
take the prep classes?
Not here.
Some sort, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do some like not over prepare your kids. I think it's prepare some, but not over prepare. But any like before the high school, like before the kids go to the high school, with a strong math, strong like writing, it's like all help for them. Doesn't matter it's BCA, BT, or anywhere. It's very good for because any other like the town high school I heard from their kids is also very stressful. Like it's not like middle school anymore. The middle school elementary is easy, but for the high school, any township the high school is a very, very, the kids like go to the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Ridgewood High School is pretty good.
The
Compared to
I would definitely choose BCA or BT, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, but even that, the workload is much higher than the middle school. Yeah, so to have a strong academic level before the high school should be definitely healthy.
I think the environment at
The environment is much
than
better.
Ridgewood High School.
There's much less, it's much more safe.
Yeah, it's safer.
Yeah.
So any other questions?
Do you guys do you like to drink or drugs, those things in your school?
There's a significantly smaller portion of such activities in our school and Bergen Technical Schools in comparison to
Yeah.
a lot of other towns.
That's
So you
why-
have like a small group of people who do things like that. But in other schools like Ridgewood High, there's a bigger population. I'm not bashing Ridgewood High, I like Ridgewood High, but there is a higher population
Much
of,
Yeah.
But you guys all know who are in that group. Kind of.
In our school,
Mostly.
in our school, there's
we know of one.
Teacher may not know, but you guys probably well aware.
I don't think it poses an issue, like, I don't think
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
concerns me.
nobody's gonna
Like,
force
yeah.
us
Your
to
Yeah.
do
kid
it.
is your child is probably like smart enough, like.
Yeah.
Nobody
Maybe
will-
if you
some
go to,
of
like-
it's just a try, not really serious.
There isn't
Serious.
really any bad influences at BCA.
Yeah.
Nobody,
Yeah.
There is no bad influence.
nobody tries to
Yeah, there's
influence
less,
you.
but if it's at like Ridgewood, there's much more
Yeah,
influence. Cause like the kids there's a different culture there.
The environment is definitely much better. There's always going to be some group that does it,
Yeah.
but like, it's much more easy.
There's a lot of different groups at BCAs for different friend groups. So, like, you won't be alone in any sort of way. If you like video games, there's going to be other people that play video games. If you like soccer, there's a soccer group. There's just a lot of different interests. So there is a group for that.
Yeah, in terms of the play games, do you guys play arcades? I mean, electronics, do you do that? How much
I know at BCA there's actually a group of kids that just brought in like TVs to the cafeteria.
Oh yeah.
And in their free time they game
Yeah,
on the
like,
TVs.
Still have
You are allowed to bring your own
Oh, yeah.
material.
Oh yeah. Last week of BT it was all happy to do it.
How do you think of that? Because my kids is like the games. It's now.
Eventually,
They're not gonna get
eventually
time,
they're
yeah.
gonna learn a lesson.
They're
not
gonna be like pressured, like in the environment, they're gonna be pressured, so then they're gonna like realize like I have to stop. So then
Yeah, they won't have time.
They're gonna study more.
I don't know if you can like stop your child from playing video games, but you can like change the amount of time. Yeah, the amount of time they spend on games and stuff will be like a lot less because
Yeah, I think it's only a very small percentage of people in DC that like actually bring in like stuff like seriously like play games.
The more time you spend at BCA, the more you learn how to prioritize certain things over others.
They were skipping classes, they were just playing
Like,
COD.
sounds like a lot of change from like the free time, the activities.
It was all the
Some
stuff.
left over, but is any help to the kids like to transition, from the middle school?
Yeah, in freshman year, they have freshman like guidance seminar in the first, I think it's, first trimester. So the guidance counselor will talk to each of their like kids, like their group.
But it's like a group,
Yeah.
like individual.
It's a group thing, and then they'll also like give you advice on how to deal with the new environment, how to manage time, and also talking. You can try to make friends with upperclassmen because they can give you a lot of
Yeah, I
helpful
think
advice.
it's also like upperclassmen will be like a mentor to the freshmen.
There's a thing that we do called like Spark, where like where some like I think juniors serve as like mentors to like the younger like to incoming freshmen, but I don't think that happens like that much. That they do that during orientation, but I honestly haven't talked with my Spark leaders since orientation. Like I don't know who they are anymore. Yeah.
So like, what is like the one requirement, like, I'm not transition well enough because of the overwhelming.
Yeah, but like
they
BCA
don't have the leadership, management
yeah, but like
skills.
BCA and BT are like the best throughout they're the best like magnet schools throughout.
I think
New Jersey, the best
change
magnet
is quite, like, it is quite a dramatic change. I would say that, like, most people, like 99.9% of people like are but in like, it's still like, where you want, like, guidance, your peers will help you, if you're like upper class of friends, they can help you too.
I mean, Bergen County really has the best magnet schools. Yeah, like we were ranked, BC was ranked number 16.
And you can,
Yeah, for public.
if you're really struggling, you can.
BCA was ranked number 5. So yeah, we honestly like other counties don't have as good. Their magnet schools are
If you don't check the use of the free time, you might have free time, school is but that's also, so I
Okay, so in the application process, it's actually like the first week of January is a testing date. And then February, usually around like winter break, you will get your letter about if
Spring
you,
break.
the winter break, you get letter about interview.
Oh.
You get the interview or not. If you not get interview, that's mean you already out of chance. Yeah, then that's the winter break you get like in the February, around February 16th. You get a letter if you got the interview or not. And then like March, you got your the interview time is during the March. And during the spring break,
Yeah,
you
then
will
you
get
get
a
whether or
letter.
not you get in.
Yeah, you get a letter about whether you get it. I think a BT at the same time, right?
Exact same letter.
They have a same time at the,
So it's
usually-
the end of March and beginning of April.
Yeah, beginning.
No, it's literally
no.
at the start of spring break. Literally at the
Yeah.
start, first day of spring break.
Yeah, the spring break, actually, 1 year we get it's at the end of the spring break.
Really?
Yeah, depends. It's just around like a spring break range, you will get your letter, you getting or not. Yeah. So anytime I think you can change your, like your first choice, second choice before the, is it before what? Before January or before October? There's.
Before Aaron. Before Aaron.
Yeah, I
The
think,
interview they ask you.
yeah, I think you still have a chance to change the choose first choice and second choice. But after you get the letter, say, yeah, you I think at the, maybe February or sometime, that is the final, you cannot change it anymore. Then when you get your letter, which academy admit you, yeah, that's the final. You cannot, yeah.
So when you apply for BCA and BT, is it separate application or is it
Same
the
test.
same?
One
Same
application.
So do you indicate which one is your first choice?
Yeah.
It will be like.
You won't,
You won't get
you
it.
can get accepted into both. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, you can't get a separate vote.
It's very
Yeah.
rare. It's,
Okay.
yeah, they want you at once.
Yeah, but you do have
But
the.
you don't indicate, this is my first choice,
No, you can't say, oh, I'd rather get into BCA than, you just apply to both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then you can decide whether to go or not to go, or
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But inside, you have first choice, go to which academy, which program, first choice, second
I
choice.
see.
And you need to have a 2 essay for one
For
for
each
BT,
of them.
one for BCA.
After
Yeah.
the first year, do you transfer from, for example, BCA to BT or BCA?
No, they even couldn't transfer the
You
program.
can transfer from BCA to BT at any time. You can also transfer out of the technical system at any time also. But you can't transfer from BT to BCA.
So
Those two essays you wrote for two different schools.
Same problem. Just change the name.
Yeah.
You don't have to let it change the.
You
You don't
should
have to
have it.
rewrite an essay.
I like rewrote mine.
Just
like,
rewrite it, make it seem
I
different.
changed the name.
Yeah, but the
I would-
I mean, if you're applying to similar academies in both schools, then you can probably just get away with changing some of the things in it. But if you're applying to two very different academies, I would recommend
You
like,
should, yeah.
Yeah,
Trying
if
to-
it's a different focus, you should definitely reconsider.
Is part of the mission office the same or separate?
What?
The mission office for two schools are the same or they're separate?
Separate.
Separate.
Is
the essay more like a personal statement, or there's always a topic?
There's always a topic. It's like basically why you want to get into BCA. You can just like approach how you write it differently. For example, some people will give like a personal experience and then lead up to why this led them to want to go in. Or you can do like you're praising BCA, talking about how good it is, and then talk about why you want to get into it because of how good it is, or something similar like
Yeah,
that.
it can be a personal statement if you kind of want to.
Did the graduate typically get to their ideal college during college without?
Well, that depends. Yeah. BCA does publish like college statistics and everything, and like PDFs for like each academy and like each college, and like the numbers and everything. But I think for now I wouldn't worry too much about college. In the end, I don't think the college that you go to doesn't matter all that much. I know we all like to think otherwise, but in the end, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think when my son tried to apply at the 8th grader, actually before 7th grader, I all the time against to apply for BCA or BT. I'm like, yeah, don't go there because too much competition. But at the 7th grader, I think there's two mom actually convinced me because they said even your kids actually go to BCA and it's so much pressure and maybe he get that bad grade, but he be trained but by those kind of pressure they will be very good in the college. Doesn't matter which college they go, they will be shining up at that time. And so that's actually convinced me like, okay, yeah, maybe when he would in our township he will get like better grade, maybe end up in the better. But he will be trained by this BCA or BT, have this kind of strong background. Doesn't matter if he go anywhere, he will be better in the future. So that's final convinced me. I support him to apply for BCA at that time. Yeah.
One more question. You mentioned the BCA is nationwide, ranked like 5 and
That was like last year.
Yeah, that was last
That's
year.
okay. So definitely top. So if you guys have any idea, compare this to the private school, like boarding school?
Oh no, they
Like,
usually separate those
Yeah.
because private schools are much more well funded.
Yeah.
So they obviously have like better teachers and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
It's a different idea.
no. I'm just talking about the not about
different
ranking. Yeah, I'm not talking about ranking. I'm talking about training process, like the environment, the resource compared to the boarding school. Anybody has that idea?
I have a lot of friends who apply to like those really high-end boarding schools, and those boarding schools seem to have way more pressure, and they like really tailor them for like a specific college, and it's like they seem to be away from their parents a lot, and they seem like they get a lot of work in like boarding schools, but they have much more resources, I guess, because you know a lot of people who get into boarding schools, their parents are obviously pretty well off. They probably donate a lot of money to their school, so I'm pretty sure they probably have more resources. However, I don't think it's worth it in the end because they're done with work. Yeah.
And it really depends on like which private school or which boarding school. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like some like around here, like I know like some schools like the people who come out like I know Trinity's good, but like some private schools like I feel like BCA would just be better compared
Yeah.
to like some local ones.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, I forgot the name in Boston.
Phillips.
Right outside of Cambridge, there's
Phillips.
Yeah, and Dover and Phillips.
Yeah, that's the one I was. They tailor them for a specific college.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those are, I heard is national rank, like boarding school, private school.
They're the
Yeah.
I'm gonna see how compared to.
I think if you have enough funding for your kids,
Yeah.
basically just try it.
No, but
That's-
that's the same admission process, right? Even though not only
Yeah.
national funding.
Yeah, the thing is, I feel like to let kids to go through this process is good for them to even get experience about like a college application, because you need to go through the same kind of application with like a college application. So this is very good experience for the kids. Doesn't matter if you go and get in or not get in. Yeah, because you got this kind of experience, then your kids in the future, they still need to write the AC. They also need to search for who's the teacher.
This was
Yeah.
just hanging around the
Yeah.
What is the percentage of girls and BCA and BT, girls and boys? Do you know approximately?
I don't know.
Same.
Yeah.
No, girls. In medical academy, it's like skewed.
Oh yeah, it might depend on each like in fashion there's I think there's one guy. And then in business it's like there's literally 5 girls to like 15 guys. Yeah. It depends on each.
More Asian kids.
Race wise,
Yeah.
BT is very
Yeah,
diverse.
It's
BT
pretty
is very
diverse.
diverse.
Oh, really?
We're
Because
very
we
diverse.
have more like
BT is
Hispanic. like,
We have more.
Latino.
We have all around.
Wow.
Well, I
But
agree.
BCA have
More
like
diverse.
definitely have more
I think
Asian
both of them
than
are,
everybody else.
both of them are diverse.
Pretty sure it's
No, I-
like 40.
Yeah, I don't think
There's
they
a lot
have more
Yeah.
Asian than other, yeah, but they.
But like, not, maybe not like Asian compared to everything else together, but like more Asian as an individual race.
Yeah, more Asians
Right.
than
Think
maybe in
about, like,
accountants.
Yeah.
About like Korea, about like 20%. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and yeah, but majority they kind of.
But I wouldn't focus too much on the race.
Yeah.
Like I think.
No worry about it.
Yeah, it's much more diverse than like a normal high
There's
school.
the admin criteria, admin there's no risk, have to be like how many?
Oh no.
No.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, so don't worry about the race. It's like
Yeah.
if
Maybe
why is
colleges.
that? Yeah. So any other questions?
Wow.
Okay, so if not, then I think the kids also finished their test. Yeah, thank you guys all for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully you guys get some question answered in your
Yeah, really appreciate all of you. Young ladies and gentlemen.